This is video 2. Okay, so that's why they do all the destruction of their monuments. They deface the noses of the monuments in Egypt and Mesopotamia, which is Iraq, right? Which was Sumer, part of Sumer too, right? So they don't want the world to know that the history of the world came from the black, carbon black father, Ra, the nation of the carbon black father, right? That, well, they don't want them to know that the carbon black father of all humanity is bull. They don't want the world to know that the father of all humanity is black. They don't want the world to see that the father of humanity, the first man that was created by Allah, the only man that was created by Allah, is black. And and from their perspective, if they've been teaching and preaching that, you know, man is made in the image of God, then that means they're not made in the image of God, right? Okay, another thing too is, okay, so now that's what the Antichrist is all about. The Antichrist is those of the aristocratic West who are trying to change everything. You know, they're trying to destroy, you know, the divine consciousness. And if you look at what they're trying to do, transgenderism, and, you know, you can be a man if you want to be a man, you can be a woman if you want to be a woman, you know, basically trying to turn everything, you know, create chaos, right? Then you can begin to see that trying to make homosexuality religion, all these type of things, right? So you can begin to see, well, destroy the food too, right? Destroy the air. I mean, just total destruction of, you know, the natural order, right? Create all this chaos, right? So you can begin to see how they are indeed the Antichrist. That's who the Antichrist is, and that's how they try to deceive 1/3 of the so much of the world, right, with their white supremacy, right, which is not white supremacy, aristocratic, Western aristocratic supremacy. Okay, that's what it is. It's really not even supremacy. It's an inferiority complex. That's what it is. Okay, now, so now, okay, so okay, so, and Pharaoh means father. So the first Pharaoh was Adam. The first Pharaoh of humanity was Adam, and every Pharaoh that sat on the throne, right? He represented the father of humanity. He represented Adam, the divine masculine, and every queen mother that sat on the throne represented Ma'at, right? Hawa. Her name was Hawa. It was Adam and Hawa, right? So Hawa represents Ma. Ma represents Ma'at. Ma'at. Every woman, every male, divine masculine that sat on the throne in Alkebulan's Kemet, right, represented the Pharaoh, the father, represented Osiris, represented they call him Usaris, represented the father, represented Pharaoh, represented Adam, right? Represented the Merkaba, right? Mars, right? The celestial house, but Mars does not represent the celestial house. It doesn't. It just doesn't. Two planets cannot occupy the same thing, okay? And it may represent a reflection of it, but it's not the actual representative of the cardinal house, right? Now, so, as I said, so, oh, I could, so, let me get back to where I was. Okay, so now, so every pharaoh that sat on the throne represented Osiris, represented Ra represented the cardinal house, right? And the queen, his queen represented Hawa, right? Represented Ma'at, right? And as was Isis and Osiris, right? So Ma'at is represented by Isis as well, right? The divine mother, the divine feminine, divine masculine, right? The divine masculine represented Adam, Osiris, right? Represented as a celestial house. Ma'at or Hawa represents, well, let's go with Isis and Osiris. If we go Isis and Osiris, and we go Adam and Hawa, we're still talking about the divine feminine. Osiris represents the celestial house of Aries, right? Ra, right? Right ascension. Isis or Hawa represents mother, represented by the moon, right? Okay, okay. Now that represents Ma'at, right? Now, so, and as we said, now, so now we have, and the sun represents their son, immaculately conceived, right? Horus, time, as it represents the sun, represents the hours of the day. The moon representing the days, right? And the stars representing the months, right? Okay, okay. Now, so every pharaoh represented the father, because Adam represented the father, is the father of all humanity. So every pharaoh that sat on the throne had to be black, right? Okay, which eliminates the fact that Cleopatra could never have been a father. I mean, a pharaoh, nor could she have been a queen. Okay, she can be a queen of Greece, Macedonia, but not of Kemet, not of Alkebuland, right? Now, and that's why they had to change the name from Kemet to Egypt, which was to represent the name no, I say not Heli, but Hipkapta, no, Ptah, Hipkapta, which represents helicopter, which can be seen, helicopters can be seen in the pyramids in Egypt, right? The helicopters, right? But Hipkapta is a name that Egypt is to represent, right? The name Egypt is to represent the name Hipkapta. And Hipkapta is the name of the god that was worshipped in one of the temples in Egypt. I mean, in Kemet, right? Now, also, Ptah is a name, one of the names of Allah, Ptah, right? Okay. So that's why they changed that, so that she could, Cleopatra of Macedonia, descendant of Ptolemy, right? That's why they changed the name so that she could represent a queen of Egypt, right? But Egypt, it was never Egypt, it was Kemet. So she could never have been a queen of Kemet or Alkebuland, right? Of Alkebuland, right? Okay. And we said Alkebuland represents the Divine Mother, Garden of Eden, right? Okay. Now, so it represented Isis. It represented the Holy Mother, right? The Divine Feminine, right? And so also Cleopatra couldn't have been a Divine Feminine because she's a daughter of the Divine Feminine, right? To have that position of Ma'at or Ma or Hawa, she'd have to represent it as the embodiment, and that she'd have to be richly DMT black in order to have that melanin to connect, to be activated by the sun, and to be cosmically integrated with the the heavens in order to receive the divine inspiration, right? Okay. So Adam, right, and his wife, or his companion Hawa, are the only man and woman created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All others extend from the loins of the father or the Pharaoh, right? And the celestial Ma, right? Hawa, the arc, and both of them are divine archetypes of the divine masculine, and they are the archetypes. They are the divine masculine and feminine archetypes for all humanity. Okay? And that again is why the West is jealous, like Iblis of Adam. They are jealous, they are filled with hate and jealousy of those born of the East and with the rich melanin, such as I have. Alhamdulillah. So they're jealous of that. And every time they look in the face of a person born of the East, they are filled with that same jealousy and hatred because they know the history of those individuals into whose face they are looking. They are facing their own insecurities, their own Oedipus complex, and it's difficult to deal with because they got to be reminded of the superiority of the East over the West, and thus over themselves, and thus reminded that they are subordinate to the East, to Ra, to the black man, to the one Allah created, to the Pharaoh, to the father, right? And thus to the mother. And the one of the West, the aristocratic female, has that also insecurity complex of the black female, because she's got to be reminded of her status as a daughter of the divine feminine, and she can never be the representative of the mother. She can never represent the mother. Thus, there's inferiority complex, and that's why they changed the Son of God to what did call him? His name Borgio something or another, to represent the white Jesus, right? Okay. Now, and the mother, right, represent a Western aristocratic Westerner, right? Now, all Europeans don't suffer this complex. All Europeans are not Nazis, and all Europeans are not Zionists. So we're not trying to go there, okay? So now, they're jealous of the divine masculine and divine feminine, and the being the archetype, and so in their theology goes, the man was made in the image of God, thus the black man made in the image of God, him having that superiority, only one being created by Allah, the only one, the one created in Jannah, educated by Allah, or taught by Allah. Taught by Allah. No one else has been done that. Created. Not even the prophets. Prophets were taught by Jibril, and Jibril delivered the message from Allah, right? Jibril being the one they call Gabriel. Okay, so now the Afro-Kemetic, and that's why they named they changed the name of Alkebulan from Alkebulan, which represents the Divine Mother, right? Garden of Eden. They changed it to Africa. Africa representing hot, and Ka representing for them terror, right? Terribly hot, right? So it's a terror for them, right? Okay, for those who have no melanin to protect them, right? Okay, and that's because they're not indigenous to the land, or right? Okay, now it is not, they don't want to recognize it as Alkebulan, right? And the Alkebulan of yesterday is not, or yesteryear is not the Alkebulan of today, right? After having been pillaged and plundered and colonized and all of these type of things, right? So the Western colonial occupiers of the Afro-Kemetic Alkebulan nations of Palestine are but an example of what has happened to, on a minute scale. It's an example on a minute scale of what happened to the DMT melanin rich black Hebrew Israelite descendants of Prophet Abraham, right? Now, so the Afro-Kemetic nations of Alkebulan were the teachers of humanity, as they continue to be the teachers of humanity. As you can see, most of everything that the black people do, right? Or let's put it this way, that the you know, yeah, I would just say the black people do, it is imitated, right? And as it's supposed to be. The father is supposed to teach the children. The children are supposed to listen and learn, right? And that's where uh that's an example of them learning, right? By example, right? Um by crook or by hook, right? Okay. Now, so they were the teachers, and because they are the father and the mother, right, of humanity. Thus they civilized the world, right? And again, that's why the West is jealous, hatefully jealous, hatefully jealous of the East. They are hatefully jealous. They are gravely jealous. The aristocratic West. Not all Europeans. Not all Europeans, right? Now, so we don't, just, stereotype all Europeans, because all Europeans don't have that. That's a aristocratic thing, Most of the Europeans that follow that fascism, they're generally doing it for money, position, and all this type of stuff. But there are a great many that know the truth, right? Many play along with the game, right? And not only just many Europeans, it's a multitude of them, from Asia, from all over the world, all continents play this game of repressing and oppressing the black people. I was going to say something. What if, hypothetically, because I don't believe this, but hypothetically, what if the black man was God, right? And this was all a test. And the black man knew he was God, and it was all a test. To see how everybody would treat him. And I say this for you to judge yourself, to grade yourself. How have you treated black people? How have you treated God? And what if, one day, heaven opened up, and everybody wanted to get into Jannah. I won't use Jannah at this time. But everybody wanted to get into heaven. But they had to get past God, right? And God will remember what they done to him. I'm not using Jesus Christ as an example, but I'm just hypothetically, not saying the black man is God. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving you an idea to rate yourselves. Okay, we're going to go to video 3.